Hello, and well, it's good evening now. Um, I was planning on actually getting up early, but my body needed its rest. You know what happens when you just don't get the sleep that you need when you need it. So I am quite excited. I've allowed a lot of my focus to not be fully on everything recently, mostly because of just some of the distractions. But I have some good news on that. Is this coming Sunday after Easter? Easter. Well, I was thinking about Easter earlier. After Thanksgiving, we're there is going to be I'm calling it a newsletter right now. I don't really have an official fancy name for it or a cool name or anything like that, but there's going to be a schedule of what's happening within the next year, the coming events coming up of what we're doing. We're gonna obviously finish Mere Christianity. We're gonna finish Genesis. We're gonna finish everything that we've already started. But once January hits, once everything is said and done with the changing of the rooms and everything, there's going to be some changes there, but um back to where we need to be and everything, but there's going to be some good changes coming up, and I look forward to that. And I'm excited. I know I have felt, and I know I've been a little distracted, just that's just with a lot of personal stuff on that end. But thankfully, in a week, that will be all that will be taken care of with graduation. So, but we have not even left the full event yet because we're still at the coming of because we just went to the Mount of Olives. What was it? Was it Friday? Which I do apologize again for recording that late on Sunday, but it was for Friday. And now we're going to be kind of what's interesting is we're touching on a conversation that happens between Peter and Jesus, and kind of he mentions everyone that, but then it focuses on those two, and then the prayer in the garden, and then we get into the betrayal that's coming. And so I find it kind of interesting that um, that we're getting closer and closer to the crucifixion and to the events on that led to the cross with Judas and the denial of Peter, which is what we're actually going to be talking about. Is the predicted moment, like Christ is going to tell him that this is what's going to happen. And I find it very interesting, one very important aspect, but I'll touch on that when we get into the passage. So with all that being said, let's get into it. So if you would read with me uh Mark 14:27 through 31. Then Jesus said to them, all of you will fall away, because it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you to Galilee. So before we even go on, before we even get to Peter's response here, it is very interesting how when he says all of you are going to fall away, and he's not even putting shame onto them. He's not, upset or seemingly to the point where he's like, hey, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do kind of like a told you so moment, but it's more of a this is what's going to happen. But then I'm going to, after I'm risen, I'm going to be going ahead of you to Galilee so we can do what we got to do next. Which I just love that. I love how Christ's response to knowing that they're going to fall away is, hey, don't worry. I know what's the next steps here. Um, Now, continuing Peter's response, Peter told him, even if everyone falls away, I will not. Truly, I tell you, Jesus said to him, today was this very night, before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times. But he kept insisting, if I have to die with you, I will deny you. I will not, I will never deny you. And they all said the same thing. So Peter said, I'm not going to do it. He's like, yeah, they may not, but I am, they may, fall away, but I sure will. I will never. But then a lot of times when they say truly in the New Testament, a lot of times it's actually connecting to the word amen, which is I find interesting. But here it's not. This is the part I find one of the interesting aspects is because everyone assumes, because I don't know where they get this from, and I'll be honest, I don't know anything about farm animals, but roosters, I'm pretty sure, crow whenever they want, and so the the fact that he specified before the rooster crows this very night. So whatever time it was, it doesn't really specify when what time anything was. Um and the time of the denial. Like there's no time frame of from this point to this point. So with that being said, the rooster crowing could happen literally at any moment, but yet it crows twice in later on in this very chapter, actually, from verses. We're actually probably going to get to this on either Thursday or Friday, 66 through uh 72, it seems. And with that, that is just crazy that Peter himself was like, no, I will not do that, and even the others in the very last verse. But he kept insisting, if I have to die with you, I will never deny you. And they all said the same thing. So they all agreed. And he also was like, I'll die with you. But one of the things that is most important is the fact that Peter's life after the resurrection, after everything, is very just relatable. you know the fact that he made mistakes even after being connected to Christ the way that he was one of the closest to followers, and on top of that, the fact that he was willing to uh do the ministry in what he did. He ministered to so many places and so many. But when he died, which still to this day I never understood why they make this kind of demonic or anything. I've never actually looked into it. But the fact of the upside down cross, they're like, it's demonic. And I'm like, no, it's how Peter died. And so I find that very, very interesting. And it's also important to acknowledge how his disciples, the people that so many of us look up to in a lot of ways and look at and be like, oh, they were, amazing human beings. Granted, they were amazing. They did incredible things uh for the for the kingdom of God, but they were still human. Peter, James, John, Andrew, um Judas, not Iscariot, Stephen, even Paul, saw Paul when right after he was converted. He all of these men did incredible things, but they were still human, and that's kind of the important thing. And I think that's something to really look at within this passage, without even having to look deep into the wording and how Christ words his things in the ancient Greek, or how it's worded for Peter in the ancient Greek. The fact that he straight up tells them, y'all are going to fall away, but I'm going to go ahead of you to Galilee, meaning that he's more than willing to just kind of accept them back. And then he said, it's so truly I tell you, today, this very night, kind of emphasizing today, this very night, before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me three times. And then after the resurrection, after they go out to fishing, I can't remember if it's in the Gospel of Mark or not, but they Peter, James, and I believe it was John, Peter, James, and John go fishing, and It is not in the Gospel of Mark, but I will touch on that in when we get to the resurrection spot. But Jesus asked Peter 3 times, "Do you love me?" And I love that. I love the connections. I love the visual of the fish that they eat, the fact that it was the Peter and the others were fishing that day, and that's how he first kind of comes into contact with him in the first place. So there's that. There's so many things I could go with, but these are meant for to be short reflections and stuff that I hope you guys can touch on. I know there hasn't been a lot of watching recently, but that's okay. And I do encourage the youth for when you you watch it, if you show any of your friends at school, and then they can hopefully be involved. And I'm going to actually add on to that the Sunday, the December 10th, we are doing the kind of the luncheon. I again have not decided food. We haven't figured that part out yet. That's probably going to be decided this Sunday, but that was going to be not as crazy with it being kind of a Christmas theme. I'm trying to think of things that fit with the Christmas theme that can be good and affordable with that. But with that being said, I want the youth. Now I'm going to make sure this is shared as soon as I'm done with this. But the youth, I want you to invite your friends, invite your uh, bandmates, your the teammates, the people that you have plays with, the people you work with, the people that you ride horses with. Does not matter. I want you to invite at least one or two of your friends. And I want you to tell me that, hey, I'm inviting these few friends, and I would love for more than two, but that is okay. Um, so that is what I challenge you guys for with all of this. So, with that being said, that's all I really have. And don't forget that this Sunday, I have I have the newsletter, and I'm sorry, I'm having a weird call, and I don't know what it's from. And so, with all that being said, I hope everything's going well. I hope everyone has a fantastic Thanksgiving, and I will see everyone on Sunday. Oh, don't forget, no Wednesday night.